All right, everybody. Today we're going to be going over how to create some basic backend services with Express and Next.js. And Pug. So a backend service is something that stores something in the database and then displays the result to the user generally. So I think the best way to show you is to just get started with it. So we can go to the expressjs.com webpage. And here you'll see the getting started guide. So let's go under installing. But I think they have an Express generator. So quickly, create the application like skeleton, like all the base stuff for us. So, first you're going to need npm. So go to search for NodeJS. And you'll see it should be right here. So download the current one, not the LTS, install that. And then once you install it, you should have npm, which is a node package manager. Okay. So anyway, npm includes npx, which runs the actual app. So let's make a folder. You can go to your terminal or like your regular, Explorer or something, and you can do mkdir for make directory. I'll call it workshop 2, HackNC 2020, and I'll go into a change directory cd, and now I can execute that command. So I'll do npx express generator, and it'll run it, and it should just create a bunch of files. So now we can say npm install. So like the folder was empty, but now it has been changed, right? It has all these files in there, which we'll go over later. So do npm install to like actually install the libraries in the code that you're going to be using. And then we can run this command to run the app. Okay, so it says listening on port 3000. So let's go to port 3000 and see what we see. Okay, it says welcome to Express. So let's open up Visual Studio Code, which you should have installed from last workshop. If not, just search Visual Studio Code and download it. So go to open folder, and then we'll go to workshop 2, and then you'll see in here app.js. So let's look through a little bit. There's a lot of imports here. You don't need to know the exact details of all of them. I certainly don't. But the important stuff is right here, which says app.use/ and then it goes to index router, and index router is in route/index. So what that means is that on the /URL, it will call as index router, which is in route/index. And then they just set up a router here, and they say when you get that actual homepage, it will render the index with the title express. So we look in views, and then we should see index, and this is like written in a language called Jade, or I think it's Pug. Yeah, someone recently changed to Pug, and it's like a shorthand syntax for writing HTML that you can put like pass in variables from your program into it. So what we can do here is we can add a route. So we can say router.get / and then we can say function rec res next. So we're just basically copying what's up above. We'll say res.render index title test. And we can't have stuff with the same URL, so we'll do /test. So let's just try that out real quick. So it should just show test on there. Oh no, so sad. I think what we can do is we can just reload. Okay, yeah, so we just have to restart and reload every time. So that's like how you create different routes and show different different pages. But if we want to add a database, let's see how we can do that real quick. So we can install Next, which is a library for using databases. So let's stop the server temporarily and install next. And we'll also install SQLite 3. So these are all different database options, but SQLite 3 only takes a single file. It's very low resource. It's great for like prototyping stuff, or even doing something with maybe like less than 100 users or 1,000 users is perfect, which is, describes our app. So let's type this here. And so while we're installing this, I'll go over a little bit about what SQL is. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language. I don't really know what that means. I can't really describe it to you, and it's fine. But it's like SQL is a way to access basically what is like an Excel table from programming. And you can say like select all the rows that match this criteria, like it was created on this day or whatever, right? But for us, we'll try and start a to-do app here. We'll see how far we can get, where our SQL will look sort of like have like an ID and a name and like a Boolean, like it is completed. Let me type that out a little bit. So to-do table, the Excel file equivalent for SQL is called a table. So it would be like ID, name is completed. So like you might have an example thing like 1, the name is go to store, is completed is false. And you might have something else like 2, do homework, and that would be true. And depending on what you save in the database, it should be true. It should like show the status on the page is completed or not completed. So let's see if we can actually like open the database real quick. So let's try and initialize the library. Var next, or let's just paste it here. Var next equals require next. And our client is not MySQL, it is SQLite 3 or maybe SQLite. Let's see. Okay, here it is right here. This is what we should have copied. So it's SQLite 3, which is our database. It says, note, when you use SQLite 3 adapter, there's a file name required, not a network connection. So yeah, we'll just keep this default name, /mydb.sqlite. So it just should save a SQLite file in there somewhere. And let's see here if we have some basic sort of code to open up. Okay, I think I have something pulled up we can just copy. So let's create a table in the database. I'll go over this in a second. Okay, so let me paste this real quick. So schema is like what the format of the table is. So like our table would be ID, name is completed. So we'll say, make sure no books table exists before trying to create new. So we'll say to-dos instead of books. Then means like after it has happened, execute this function. And after that has happened, execute this function. And catch is like if there's an error, run this error code instead. So we'll say if it does not exist, then we'll create it. So we'll say next.schema.create table to-dos. And then we'll give an ID, which is a primary key. Go increase by default. And we'll say table.string name. Table dot, I think Boolean. Let's see what next says. Look on the left here, schema builder. That's what we're looking. We're building a schema dot Boolean. Okay. And we'll call that one is completed. We'll say table to-dos created. There's an error creating it. And then if the database can't even be set up, then it'll say, oh, you can't even set up the database. So now let's try and add a to-do. So if you look right here, there should be a little option that they, like some code that they show you to, maybe not here, maybe there's the other page. Yes. So you sort of write out what you want it's a little bit hard to describe, but if you get some experience, it will totally make sense. So let's try and create a book. So we say next, or create a to-do next to-dos dot insert, and then you make a JavaScript object of what you want your code to sort of look like. And then you just say, did it work or did it not work? And you can do the same thing with getting all of them. So like select star means all from to-dos. Then you can return the data. And you can delete and you can reset. So let's try and create. Let's see if we can create, and then we'll see if we can show all of them. So let's say create to do. We will say next to do's dot insert, and then we'll say name testing. I'll say is completed false, and this has to be in a string, of course. And then we'll say dot then, and we'll put a little function there. And this is when we'll return the page, and then we'll return a different page for catch. And so we'll say for the title, we'll say created. For this title, we'll say error. So it should just say created for us, because I don't think there should be error. Let's try and run our code. So go up to run the code. SQLite does not support inserting default values used in null as default. Okay, I think that's fine. So it says table to do is created, and it says done. If we run it again, it should not say created again. Oh, it just says done because it loaded. So let's go to /create to do, and let's see what it says on our web page. Okay, so it says it's created, and we should have the one item in the database. So let's see if we can actually render the to-dos. So router.get/to-dos, and let's put it on the home page actually. So we'll render the index, and then we'll pass in the to-dos right here. But first we have to get them. So we say next to-dos dot select. Let's go back to the example real quick. From books, then okay. This is a slightly different syntax. From books dot then, and then we'll render the page. We'll pass in the to-dos, and then we'll edit it a little bit so it'll render them a bit nicer. And we got to catch any errors. So this time, I don't think there'll be any errors. Let's just say console.log error. This is not what you do in production, of course, but it's just so we can make our app faster and just test it out, see how it works, because we're learning. And the to-dos we'll pass in is the data, which is a function. So sorry about that. So the to-dos we'll pass in is the data that we got out of that. And let's just log it anyway, see what happens. Anyway, let's go into index.js. Let's create a new one too. Let's create a new Jade file. So it's a new file, todos.jade, and we'll say extends layout, and we got to figure out how to loop over our variables and display them on the page. So to do that, let me pull up some pug templates, CSS, see how to do it. Okay, overview, see here. Look on the right, I'm looking for loops, iteration, that's loops, each val in blank. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. So let's just do this for our, okay. Yeah, let's just do this. So ul each val and to-dos, right? And we'll say li equals val dot name. Let's just try this out, see if it works. So instead of returning index, it will return to-dos. And we got to restart our app. And let's go to the slash page. Let me remove this. It still says created. So render to-dos data, router.get slash create to-do, render index. So I think let's try restarting it again. See what happens. Error getting to-dos. Oh no. Oh, it's just from books. My bad. Okay, so it says val.name. Interesting. Let's keep looking here. I think it, okay, we have two things in the list, two items in the list. So we get the data, we logged it, we passed in the data into to-dos, and inside to-dos.jade says extended layout equals title, each val in to-dos, li equals val.name. Let's go back to getting started. Make sure we got our, oh, we need to use this one. Right. This just makes sure our code is actually displayable on the page. So like any variable it has will actually be changed into the string. There we go. Awesome. I think that means we remove the equal. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we have two testing, and let's also log out is completed or not. See if that works. Okay, no, so let's say is completed true, then output true, else output false. This is a ternary operator. Okay, so they're both false, right? Now let's see if we can delete one of these. And then we'll be pretty close to our to-do app. Not quite there yet, but I think that'll be all the time we have for today. So let's make a router.get delete and we need to pass in a parameter to the URL. So let's look at the basic routing they have. Getting started, more examples. Let's look at the guide. So go to routing, route methods. We need to see how they pass in a variable into the route. Route parameters. This is what we're looking for. So I think we just say colon, and then we'll get rec.params. Yes. Let's just try that out then. Okay, so let's just log the rec.params. Slash delete slash ID console.log rec.params, and we'll just comment out this insert code for now. Basically what we're trying to do here is when you go to this URL with the ID of the to-do, it will delete that to-do with that ID. So let me Control-C here, run it again. And we just want to see if this works, like in the documentation. 1, delete /1, for example. Okay, it says ID 1. So, oh, it's loading forever because I didn't return anything in the function. See, I didn't. Okay. Anyway, so rec.params.id is what we're looking for. So we should be able to pass this to next. So let's look back at that next example. See here, books delete. So we say next books where id rec.by.id. So for us is param.id. .delete. Then we get this stuff. So let's just copy and paste this. rec.params.id, delete this other code we had. And instead of res.json, which we haven't gone over yet, which is fine, we will say render index, and we'll say deleted for the title. And for the other one, we'll say error delete, error on delete. So inside of our todos.jade, let's see if we can add something else in here. So we'll say let's see here if there's like a link or something. Tags, attributes. I think attributes is it. Okay, here we go. ahref Google. Okay. Yeah, so ahref equals, and we want to say // localhost 3000, which was our URL /, and then we'll say val.id. Try this one out. And we'll say delete. Let's just see how it goes. Okay, so stop, run, go here. Oh no, our code didn't work. So actually we're not using Pug, we're using Jade, which is a little bit interesting. I thought we were using Pug, but it's fine. So let's look at the API. Language reference, attributes. Oh, so this is pretty similar, really. Let's try and look at this again. Language reference. So you have the HTML, head, body, h1, container, if, else. Let's see what happens if we put this on a new line. Oh no. Can I read property name of undefined? Oh, it's because, right. Okay. Okay, so we will debug this next workshop. I think that's all we have time for today. I hope you guys learned something, how to look up code, how to, start seeing it to follow examples and stuff. That was the main goal today. And see there are errors, and it's okay, and you can try to fix them. Let me know how it goes for you. I'll be happy to work with you on extending your code, making it better. All right, thanks.